It's in our hearts, it's in our memories, and that's all you can do. It's only stuff, and you can't get caught up in it. And I know that's not an easy thing to say, but in the short and long of it, we have our health, we've survived, and that's the important thing.
And I think one thing that you also mentioned before we went on air, there is a small little lemon tree.
A little lime and lemon tree that survived, and our American flag. And our American flag which is why this country is so amazing, because we are survivors, and this is a perfect testimony to that. So from the fruits that we bear to our country, and it is what it is. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time, and good luck to you, and thank you so much for talking to us about this. This is just such a difficult time here for so many families, because again, as you can see, there is nothing left here of this community, not just their homes, but also their cars. Fortunately, from what I've been hearing over and over from some of these families, is that everyone made it out okay. And as you heard right now, they do have a sense of connection, a network that they're all keeping tabs on each other to give each other that support during this very difficult time. But as you can see, I mean, this is just a heartbreaking scene anywhere that you look here along PCH. And this is just one of several different communities that we've seen that are just completely wiped out because of this fire. Guys, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Yeah, there's some perspective there in the Palisades as we continue to watch these devastating images. Christian, thank you for that. Camilla, I can't help but think about so many people. She talked about that American spirit, people helping people. That is what we've seen consistently overnight, yesterday, all this morning. And you think how devastating this is and how heartbreaking it is. People spend their lives, their dreams, hoping to live in a place like this, hoping to live like here, feet from the beach, hoping to live in the beautiful, beautiful, stunning foothills of Southern California. And to see this kind of devastation where people have set up their lives and their homes with their families, and to see this kind of destruction is just so difficult to bear and truly comprehend.
And it's been incredible to see just the people effort, using her words, we are survivors. Yes. So powerful words there. We now want to get to our Alex Rozier in Altadena right now, where, Alex, we understand several businesses are on fire where you are.
Yeah, and frankly, there are so many fire crews that are working so hard to contain the fires. There's just so many of them that at this point we don't even see any in the immediate distance where we're looking right now. You can see a couple of the fires right here. This is a Theosophical Library is what I'm looking at on Google Maps. But if you look across the street, we saw that there was a Bank of America that was on fire. You see the signage there for Giant Steps. We are on Marchetta Street and Lake Avenue. You are looking to the north right now. And if you turn around, there are more flames and more destruction on Lake Avenue as an LA County Sheriff's Department deputy comes by here. I'm going to walk a little bit over to the sidewalk here, Tommy, so we can walk this way. Let's turn around. Let's turn back around this way, and let's jump on the sidewalk as best we can, because it is, as you saw there are still some of the people on the roadways this morning, especially the emergency responders. We were over in one of the neighborhoods. There's one on that side that has many homes that are burned. We were down a few blocks by Elliott Arts Magnet Middle School, and that roof caught fire as well. But you can see some of the flamage here. I don't want to get too much closer given the ongoing situation, but as you can see on a busy thoroughfare, a place with many businesses, homes nearby, a very similar result as there are flames that have taken over several spots here in Altadena. Jonathan and Camilla, will send it back into you.
So winds and that smoke.
It's just difficult to watch. These are not just people's homes. These are people's livelihoods going up in flames as we watch there from Alex's camera. Again, these fires, we are not out of the woods by a long shot. This is destruction on a level neither of these communities has seen, at least not in decades. We're talking about small businesses. These are people's, their literal livelihoods there. And it's just, the sites have just not stopped. It's just startling.
And it's just as the other woman in Christian's live shot was talking about, just use the word apocalyptic. Yes. Just walking through these streets as we see in Alex's shot, just absolutely heartbreaking to see the number of businesses that are on fire right now, and that you can just get a sense of those winds, how powerful they are, how they're shifting, that smoke in different direction. And that has truly been nonstop since yesterday, and it's these winds are not letting up, and that is the biggest concern as we go into these afternoon hours. I'm hoping these firefighters, Jonathan, can catch a break, because they've been going from one structure to the next. And as we see in Alex's shot, we do see a lot of cars coming through. I'm sure emergency vehicles, but I'm sure people that live in that area, they're probably trying to assess the damage, but obviously very dangerous conditions to be driving in.
And we do see several fire crews there in Alex's shot. And Alex, just so you know, we're staying with your shot right now. These several businesses, and I forget which street he said, I believe he meant Lake, one of the biggest, thoroughfares there in the Pasadena, Altadena area. And where Conan was covering this exact same fire, whereas just a few minutes ago, he's talking about the winds dying down. Here in Alex's shot, those winds have not died down even a little bit. And one thing that Conan pointed out that was so also just shocking to me was how many people were being evacuated close to the 210 freeway, because if you know where the 210 is, it doesn't always run, it runs parallel to the hillside, but it's not close enough to the hillside. We're talking several miles from the base of these hills where this fire is burning. And when we talked to Lolita earlier, as we see the house there collapsing on your left, the roof collapsing as we speak, Lolita spoke with someone who was evacuated. She lived just a block or two north of the 210 freeway, but still miles away from the flames. It just shows you how widespread that fire crews think this can truly turn into, and we're seeing it in real time.
Yeah, and how Lolita talked about earlier, just how the moment's notice to evacuate, because there's just no time. You have to grab your belongings, get out, get to safety. And that is what we've been hearing from different homeowners. Even when I was out there in Pacific Palisades yesterday, there's just not enough time. I mean, these winds are, whipping through so quickly, with those embers flying across the streets there. So there is not a lot of time to get out. And we saw that traffic gridlock yesterday, Jonathan, on Sunset Boulevard with those cars, people leaving their cars because there was no other choice. Exactly. So it's just absolutely heartbreaking as we're seeing this live picture here of this home burning right now. Again, we're following the latest here with the Ethan fire has scorched more than 10,000 acres at this hour. We're going to continue to follow the very latest developments as we monitor these wildfires burning across Los Angeles. Your time now is noon, and we have been on the air nonstop for more than 24 hours, bringing you the latest on several fires burning across Southern California, and two of the biggest ones are nearly equal in size. We are talking about the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire, those about 50 miles apart, but both equally destructive. Here on your screen, we want to let you know about a QR code there on the corner of your screen. If you use your phone camera to scan that QR code, it'll help you stay up to date. We'll give you updated information from our website, like evacuation orders, school closures, road closures, and of course, weather conditions from our First Alert weather team and the meteorologists who are working hours on end, making sure that we stay updated with the wind conditions and fire conditions. We want to first start with here the Palisades fire that started yesterday morning at 11 a.m. That is when we first went on the air. We have not stopped bringing you live coverage since. We are now in 25 hours into our coverage, and we do have some new numbers into our newsroom. Palisades fire now close to 12,000 acres burned, more than 30,000 people there forced to evacuate, Camilla, as you mentioned, in the Palisades and Santa Monica, leaving their cars behind in many cases just to get out. We also learned that at least 1,000 structures in the Palisades fire have burned. We assume most of those are people's homes. The second largest fire now, the Eaton fire, burning near Altadena. Yeah, there, Jonathan, there have been at least 2 confirmed deaths and more than 10,600 acres have now burned there. And we're also following the latest of a fire in Sylmar being called the Hearst fire that started at 10:30 last night. It has scorched more than 500 acres so far. And the latest fire is the Woodley fire as well, which started just after 6 this morning and has burned 75 acres in the Sepulveda Basin. And within the last hour, President Biden, Governor Newsom, and Senator Padilla were briefed on those fires. All 3 leaders emphasized their commitment to support fire crews and everyone impacted right now from this.
And it was at that news conference we heard several officials, LAFD fire chief there on your right, and Jim McDonald there, the police chief, both saying how unprecedented this is. They've spent decades of service here in Southern California, both saying they've never seen anything quite like this. Look at this site, something too many of us woke up to this morning. Smoke as far as the eye can see in nearly every single direction. We want to go to our Julia Dang overhead in News Chopper 4. Julia, you guys haven't even been able to really get up in the air until now.
That's right, Jonathan. We have been on the air for about 25 hours now, but this is actually the first aerial shot that you're getting from News Chopper 4 because the winds, the extreme historic winds that are fueling the spreads of these fires, we have been grounded by those same powerful Santa Ana winds. On top of that, you're talking about President Biden. We've been grounded because there has been this massive presidential TFR, this temporary flight restriction. So now we are finally able to fly, and this is just unprecedented. I'm going to zoom all the way out and show you, like you said, Jonathan, smoke as far as the eye can see. We are posted up right now just north of Malibu. We are shooting south. We have to stay on this side of the fire. We are northeast of this Palisades fire that's close to about 11,000 acres now, and much of what is blanketed by this smoke has burned. And everywhere I zoom in, we are seeing the charred remains of homes, what used to be iconic landmarks. Palisades High School, you know, the images that we're seeing on the ground, it just doesn't compare to the scope of devastation, the scope of destruction that we are seeing from the air. And, you know, before News Choppers could fly this afternoon, yesterday, we were seeing footage from LAX travelers, people flying into and out of LA who were shooting this from above, from commercial jets. And you could see this half ring of fire extending from the coastline, northeast into the mountains. It's continuing to expand. And it's terrifying because these winds are not dying down. I can tell you, sitting in News Chopper 4 right now, this is the bumpiest ride I have ever had. If you see the picture bouncing here, it's because my right hand on the joystick, I cannot hold this steady. So we know that's going to make the firefight much harder on the ground. As for the aerial firefight up here, you know, fire helicopters and tankers have had trouble flying as well. But hopefully as the winds die down, they will have a better handle on this. For now, we're live in News Chopper 4. Back over to you.
Julia, thank you. Julia makes such a good point, Camilla, because we were talking about this. I was driving in from the West San Fernando Valley, and you could see the smoke plume, especially from the Eaton fire, was so tall that I couldn't see the top of it from where I was sitting in my driver's seat. I had to look up and see how tall it was. And that smoke plume combines with the Palisades fire smoke plume, and that's what people are waking up to. Also horrific air quality, unhealthy to hazardous. In fact, our meteorologist, David Biggard, letting us know right now, there's not just fine particulates in the air, right? It's not just the ash and smoke that's burning from the brush. It also contains chemicals burning from inside those homes. And as we see all that smoke here on one of the most gorgeous, typically gorgeous parts of Southern California, the Pacific Ocean there near Malibu and the Palisades, all the way down to Santa Monica, you can barely see from Julia's shot here from our News Chopper 4. And she's right, truly nothing compares to the images that we haven't been able to see until now because of how strong the winds have been.
Yeah, and that low visibility, even being out there myself yesterday, was so hard to tell what was burning when it got to that 6 o'clock hour, just because of the intensity of the wind blowing that smoke in different directions. But that dark plumes of smoke just covering everything. All right, we now want to get to Lolita Lopez, who has been in Pasadena at an evacuation center there in Lolita. Lolita, you have been talking to a number of people who had to evacuate so quickly today.
Absolutely, Camilla. People that had to evacuate as a precaution, people that had to evacuate not knowing what they were going to find when they went home, and people that now know that they have lost their homes. I'm actually here with Debbie Johnson. And Debbie, you live in the Altadena area. You came here this morning, but you're hearing now that something has occurred with your home. Can you give us an update?
Well, I don't know. Like everybody else, I'm still waiting. So I'm waiting. Someone's going to go check and see if they can get up in the area. Mm-hmm. If they can, they'll let me know. I just want to stop my mind from racing. But right now, we're okay.
Yeah. Did you tell me when you left, what was that like?
Oh, well, it was scary because the building blacked out. We had no light, so it was really scary. So my neighbor took me to my mom's house, and because she had electricity still. Mm-hmm. So from her house, we went to my neighborhood church, and and we had to leave there. So now we're here.
Yeah. How are you feeling here right now? Just still in shock?
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed at all the people. I'm overwhelmed. This is like a Lifetime movie, per se. You never think it happened in real life.
You've been in that area for a long time. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, have not.
And at this point, you don't know if your house survived?
No, I don't. I'm hoping to know soon.
Debbie, well, we thank you very much for talking to us. Just your feelings right now.
Scared, overwhelmed, but hopeful.
We're going to take that hope and move it on. Thank you so much, Debbie, for talking to us. I really appreciate you. All right, I'll check in with you again, okay?
Thank you.
Cool. And I just also wanted to note about another woman that we interviewed just before we talked to Debbie, before this live shot. Her name is Jennifer. She does know and did find out that she did lose her home, and I want to go to that interview right now. Take a listen.
My husband, it's his childhood home, so he's going to be 50 years old. So it got passed down to us once his dad passed away, and we've been there 11 years, raised our kids there. It's just so shocked how it happened.
And this is what?
This is a friend. This is a friend of the house.
Yeah.
All our lawn is gone, just our gate, and then the back of it's done. My son's coffee trailer, he just started, it's done.
Little business.
Yeah, little business.
Yeah. When you look at this, what do you feel?
It's gone.
Yeah.
That's all we got. I can't believe it. We tried to hose our house down before we left, but there's also so much thing you could do.
Yeah.
Our kids' school is gone. Our park, Rosebud Academy, our park that we live across the street, Farnsworth Park, is a beautiful park. It's gone.
And did it just happen in minutes? Like, how was it?
Yeah, I was at work at 7 o'clock, and then a coworker's like, "You need to go to your house because Altadena is being evacuated." I'm like, "What?" So I called my daughter, and then she's crying. She's like, "There's flames." So I had to rush down there, and then we just got what we have. We have 2 German Shepherds. We went to the Pomona Humane Society. It took us like 3 hours to board them. I took my kids to my mom, and then came back with my husband because he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
He didn't want to leave, and I had to like force him. We have to go.
When you left, what was that
And
scene?
we didn't even leave. We stopped at Food for Less and just parked in the parking lot, hoping, you know what, it's gonna pass. We're gonna still have our hope. And it wasn't. We had to go down further because the wind was coming down fast. So we went to the CVS parking lot. Like, we still could not leave. You know, that's our home.
And the fire was all around you?
All around, yes. The explosion. I think there's Ace Smoke Shop. It blew up too. There's Everett's hamburger stand is done. The post office on Lake is done.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, all of these things that are part of our neighborhoods and our communities.
Yes, it's gone. It was so sad going up there because it's literally gone. It's sad because it was a beautiful community. Everybody, it was just lovely to live there, you know.
Well, I won't belabor this anymore, and I really appreciate you. And it's an emotional moment, so I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to talk about it. And I'll keep in touch with you to see and make sure that things are progressing the same way. And you're just here trying to find resources?
Yeah, so my kids are with my mom, but we need to know what we need to do next. And they said they're in phase 1 until they get the okay, because it's still burning, that they could go to phase 2, and then they could give us more resources. So we're just sitting here waiting.
That would be like a place to stay, some hotel
vouchers, yeah, anything. I mean, they're giving us food, that's good, blanket, but it's still shocking. I'm hoping I just wake up and it's a dream. But it's up.
But you're with your family.
I'm with my family. My kids are safe. My dogs are safe. We're alive. Yeah. But it was our home.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that is the difficult story of just one person, like so many that we have met here, that we're meeting across our communities, our different reporters, talking to them. It really is so many years of people coming together within their communities, but it's not just about their homes. Once you're in that home, that's fine, but it's the places you remember driving by, the schools where your kids went to. We're hearing of several schools in the Altadena area also that are now gone because of that fire. But again, here at this evacuation center, people are just trying to get information as it comes from where their homes are. They're trying to stay as safe as possible here, get a nice clean bathroom, some food to eat, and of course some water. And a lot of folks here getting assessed medically in case they need to go to another location that's not just at this evacuation center. So we'll keep monitoring here, talking to folks here and making sure that we talk more about the resources that are being handed out here. So we know that soon hotel vouchers are going to be handed out for those folks who do not have a place to go. We're also understanding that the Red Cross will be assisting people in trying to figure out next steps, which include turning off your utilities if you did lose your home, and of course doing any insurance claims. So we'll continue to follow that here, but it's these are communities that have really been impacted across Southern California. Guys, back to you.
Lolita, that's the point. That's the point we can't lose sight of here. We're throwing so many numbers, acreage, structures, evacuation orders, but what matters is that these were people's homes, and like you mentioned, these were their communities. Lolita, thank you for that interview, as tough as that was. Right now, we want to go back to our News Chopper 4, giving us a live look of from up above, really a view we haven't been able to see just because of the sheer level of wind, and yet the winds have not really died down all that much. Let's go back up to Julia Dang, because Julia, you mentioned earlier you were even struggling to control the camera there from your position up in the air.
I am, Jonathan. I'm gripping the joystick on the camera controls back here in my right hand. I have never flown in conditions quite like this. The turbulence is unreal. And I've heard from firefighters, veteran firefighters, who say they have never seen anything like this on the ground. LA gets wildfires every year. That's not new for us, but this is absolutely historic. I mean, all night we were watching our colleagues on the ground covering this down below, and those tight shots where you're zoomed in, you're looking at the flames, you're looking at the smoke, it's almost like you get lost in the devastation. You can't see the full scope of it. But now that we can fly in News Chopper 4, I'm going to zoom out and show you from up above this big picture view of the devastation. Close to 11,000 acres now burning in the Palisades fire. This is Saddle Peak Road that I'm zooming out at. There are homes being threatened as we speak. As you were tossing to me, Jonathan, you saw how that smoke that looks light now was starting to darken. And you can't quite tell from this far out how quickly the smoke is moving. But let me tell you this, I'm looking at my pilot's airspeed dial up front. We are barely moving. We're hovering over the Santa Monica Mountains right now, but that dial is reading more than 80 knots. That's how gusty the winds are. That's how powerful these Santa Ana winds are, and that's what's driving the spread of not only this fire, but the one out in Altadena, the one in Sylmar that we could see from Whiteman Airport, where News Chopper 4 is based. And let me show you something else. If I zoom all the way in, you can see how quickly this smoke is being blown from, again, Saddle Peak Road. If I were to track this and turn on that little speedometer that we have on the helicopter camera, you could see this plume of smoke actually moving faster than some cars we've tracked in pursuits. This is historic. This is extreme. For anybody out there in areas under evacuation orders or even warnings, if you have not made moves to leave just yet, you need to do that. Pack a go bag, turn on your alerts, and make sure you are heeding these warnings. We have never seen anything quite like this.
And this is a fire we know.
That just cars. I just kept thinking back to yesterday.
Yeah.
Those cars that were trapped as people were trying to evacuate, and that's what is just so heartbreaking.
And meanwhile, Julia, we're going to stay with your shot here. We're also going to go to our meteorologist, Stephanie Olmo. We want to bring her in now because, Stephanie, I think you made such a critical point earlier, right? We talk about these winds at historic levels that we saw overnight, but they may be dying down, just slightly?
Right.
But they're still very dangerous winds by all accounts.
Yeah, we're talking about gusts earlier today over 80 miles an hour in some spots. Yeah, they have scaled down in some areas, but what, 60 miles an hour? It's still very dangerous out there. And even as we head into this afternoon, coming down a little bit in some areas, but we're talking about gusts around 30 to 40 miles an hour. So still enough to carry these fires out. And that's exactly what we're seeing. So if you're told to evacuate, you want to make sure to do so. Don't take the hose outside of your yard to try to do it. Just don't do it. And just wait for fire crews. And it's very important to, get to safety as soon as possible. So this is the live imaging that you see right now, and the fire burning over very steep terrain, a lot of heavy fuels out there, which actually it takes a while for it to be put out. So gusty winds continuing at this time. And I want to go over and look over some of the maps that I have right behind me. This is the live satellite, the fire temperature, where you see some of the bright colors. You see the flickers, the orange, for example. This is the Palisades fire. This is burning there near Santa Monica. And also we have the Eaton fire, where this is the view from satellite. And you see it's still pretty intense. It's very bright. And this is what we're dealing with. I mean, these fires have just exploded here in the past 24 hours. As we go over the Eaton fire right now and check out the current conditions out this way. Over in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, we're talking about gusts around 30 miles an hour. So the gusts around this area, the winds are calming down a little bit. And we saw Conan Nolan out there too, and we were able to see that the calms come down a little bit. But again, we cannot put our guards down, because as we continue here into this afternoon, yes, we could get the occasional gusts out across this way. And also around the Palisades fire, where we're looking at gusts right around 40 miles an hour in the lower elevation there in Topanga Beach. But in the higher elevation, we're talking about gusts right around 60 miles an hour. So it was actually that general area. We had very strong gusts, upwards of 80 miles an hour. So we're talking about hurricane force winds across this way. All right, let's go over some other areas, some other fires that are burning. The Hearst fire in Sylmar, where we do have the Ridgetop site. And we're talking about gusts out in this general vicinity here, right around 42 miles an hour. Further to the south in Granada Hills, gusts around 20 miles an hour. So it's still gusting pretty good in some of these spots. And lastly, the Woodley fire in the Sepulveda Basin, where we do have gusts currently in Van Nuys close to 40 miles an hour. So it is still not letting up as we continue here into this afternoon. So as we go over some other alerts that we have in place again, and you've been told, if you see the smoke, if you see ash, you want to make sure you head indoors. This is the type of stuff you do not want to breathe inside. We're not talking about ash, but also the chemicals that are burning from these homes. You just don't know where you're taking in. It's certainly unhealthy. So we do have the smoke advisory that has been extended to include Orange County and parts of the Inland Empire through tomorrow. I'm sure it's going to get extended as we head into the coming day. So the smoke futurecast, I just want to point this out because, again, you have the offshore winds coming in from the northeast, is pressing all that smoke to the southwest. So this is why we're talking about here the smoke advisory in place for the basin, for example, part of the valleys, and also down into Orange County. Look at all that smoke. Look at the darker colors, the oranges. It just represents how thick that smoke is as we continue throughout the rest of the day today, and even as we head into tomorrow too. Although the winds won't be as strong, it's still going to be gusty in some areas as we head into your Thursday. So this is what we can find again, just that dense smoke continuing to work its way toward the south direction. Here's a look at the wind gust futurecast, and we hone in a little bit closer in some spots. And this is around the San Gabriel Valley, Duarte, Glendora, back into Pasadena, where we're looking at gusts here calming down a little bit as we continue through the afternoon, occasionally seeing gusts getting close to 20 miles an hour there in Glendora, for example, gusting around 15 miles an hour there in Pasadena. And as we progress throughout the rest of the evening, again, the gusts out this way, not looking too bad. But if you look up to the north, you see some of the coloring there. So we're still looking at gusts in areas nearby, gusts around 30 to 40 miles an hour, especially in the San Gabriel Mountains. And as we continue into tomorrow, again, it looks a little bit calmer for the most part, or a little bit lighter out your way. But let's focus over into Ventura County and LA County, because it's been pretty gusty out here, where as we put this into play, you head into, let's just say the next hour, 1 p.m. Still looking at gusts over 30 miles an hour in some areas like Woodland Hills, down into Malibu, gusts right around 41 miles an hour. As we head into the late afternoon time frame, 3, 4 o'clock later on today, you see we start to back off in some of the colors. So I'm seeing mainly the yellows for example, gusts around 20, 30, even upwards of 40 miles an hour. So it's still going to be pretty strong, just not as strong as what we're experiencing here right now. As we head just around midnight, we're still seeing the occasional gusts out around Porter Ranch, Simi Valley, for example, down to Malibu, with gusts around 30 miles an hour. Here's a look at the Pacific Palisades and your hour-by-hour wind gust forecast, where you're seeing, again, the strongest gusts. We had it this morning and still continuing around this time. Gusts around 43 miles an hour, and then coming down as we head throughout the rest of the day around 6 p.m. You should be down into the 20s and then down into the teens as we head until late tonight. So, I mean, that is some good news. But as I mentioned, there's the fires that are burning. We have spotting, for example, where the embers are flying to different directions and starting new fires. And so, of course, crews are very, very busy out there. So the reason why we do have the conditions that we have, we just have all the right ingredients in place. You have the weather conditions, all right? It's been quite some time that we've had some wet weather. It's been very dry. In downtown LA, for example, we've only had 0.16 inches of rain, when typically this water year, around this time, we're already a few months in the rain season, we should be over 4 inches of rain. So certainly a deficit there. And so things have been extremely dry. Again, we have the strong gusty winds, all that fuel. The past couple of winters, yes, we've had a lot of growth out there. So that is added. That is some added fuel. And then we have the topography. A lot of the fires are burning on the very steep terrain. What can we expect as we continue? So let's go over this. So damaging winds will continue through mid this afternoon, as I just showed you in the futurecast. As we continue this evening, the winds not as strong, but still gusty, as you saw in the futurecast as well. Gusts around 20, 30 miles an hour. And when we have the dry conditions and we have the fires burning, that is still a threat as we continue throughout the course of the day today. And there's still the threat for down trees and power outages, power lines, causing for some power outages as we continue, also with the strong winds causing the power outages. Extreme fire conditions will continue even as we head into Thursday. Even Friday, too. We'll have the occasional winds out there. And because the conditions are just so dry, we have elevated fire danger. Guys?
Stephanie, thank you. And remember, on that QR code on the corner of your screen, you can scan that with your phone to get updated information like Stephanie just gave us.
And well, we're going to get to Conan Nolan in just a moment. In Altadena, I just want to mention one thing. Local Planet Fitness locations are now opening their doors to anyone impacted by the LA County fires. So this is effective immediately and available 24/7 for anyone that needs help right now. And now let's get back to our Conan Nolan live in Altadena with the very latest there on homes burning where you are, Conan.
Right. So this is a microcosm of all the destruction, the horrific drama that the Palisades has gone through, and now the neighborhoods near the Eaton fire, starting up in Eaton Canyon above Pasadena, next to Altadena. This neighborhood, we've been talking to you about it for a while, El Molino and Sacramento. The cavalry showed up, which is great news. Pasadena Fire, along with mutual aid from Long Beach, we can pan over here. They were able to put some water on this structure. It's not going to save it, of course, but it keeps it from being essentially a source of new fires and new embers and new contamination for the rest of the neighborhood. This house fully involved. As you can see, the brush in front of it as we walk down this way. That's a problem, obviously. The wind gusts have died down to a certain degree, but they still kick up momentarily for a few minutes. It's not as bad as it was earlier, thankfully. As we come down this way, I'll show you the effort at staging a fire engine company near a home that has not gone up, so that what's happening here does not impact that house. This house is all gone, and you have a company out of Long Beach, I believe, that has been stationed at this particular home, where the homeowner was able to get out some of his furniture, which has, that in and of itself is combustible, but he was able to save that. As you can see, this engine company out of Long Beach doing what they can to put water down on the structure next door, again, so that if there continues to be wind gusts that it doesn't end up with fire in the eaves of this next structure, which of course, as a domino effect that we've seen in these neighborhoods, ends up infecting plenty of the others. Let me ask this. It looks like you've got this, you're trying to keep this from going on.
Yeah.
I mean, how optimistic are you that you're going to keep this from going into the rest of the neighborhood?
I can't. Sorry, boss.
Yeah, there you go. They seem to be based on just what we've seen thus far and these conversations we've had with some of the other engine captains, that there's, first of all, they're exhausted, obviously. They're deeply concerned that they're not getting to the neighborhoods that they need to get to as fast as they can. But here, they're able to, thus far, keep this home from, again, resulting in more fire in the, oh, here we go. With this, this is an example of this, I don't know if that's, what exactly is that caught fire outside the house. And it's now caught the tree on fire, which is problematic. There's a lot of coverage in this neighborhood. That is a lot of mature trees that if they do catch fire, they could help facilitate, or I should say, transmit flame from one side of the street to the other side. That hasn't happened thus far. Of course, the other problem that we've had is power lines coming down. We try to stay away from those, but some of them have come down in the past few hours. And here we have some application to this flame. Again, this is just one neighborhood. This has happened throughout Southern California, throughout this part of Altadena. Sierra Madre has, and some of the other cities to the east of here have been evacuated, locking out a Flint Ridge, a very large flame presence or smoke presence going into the canyon there. That was evacuated. We don't know if any of the fire has actually gotten there. We understand that again, I had mentioned that the Rose Bowl was shrouded in smoke as we made our way up here. It has defensible space. And of course, you had heard earlier from the NASA director about the concerns over the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, both of which, of course, are in the Arroyo Seco, which is west of here. This neighborhood, again, we've counted at least a dozen homes that have gone up. There are at least 100 homes, from what we understand, have been destroyed in structures here. And the effort underway by crews that have doing everything they can to get to where they need to be at the right time. Some homeowners have had to wait. We've talked with some of them who tried to put as much water on using their own garden hoses to try to keep the fire from spreading. And this is what they've been hoping for. A lot of water pressure from an engine tender, and they're able to essentially extinguish this flame with the hope that with the wind dying down, fingers crossed, that they'll save the rest of this neighborhood. Back to you.
Conan, it's so hard to imagine. Just a week ago, we're out here, Pasadena, Altadena. They're big time every year, celebrating the Rose Parade, celebrating the Rose Bowl, now dealing with that fire, just devastating images. It's tough to imagine just 1 week later.
And how, as he said, it's been such a challenge for these firefighters. And it really, at this point, just depends